I've seen the pain and stress of caring for a loved one that cannot care for themselves, just as I know you have. How does your work ease the emotional toll on the disabled and dying person and their loved ones?
Well, again, so much of it is having a dialogue, right? Many people, I know it sounds a little bit funny, but you know that when you're younger and you're growing up, parents have the talk with you about life and experiences. Well, we say that now it changes, and when parents get older, you need to have the talk with them.
Yes.
But it's all about communication, and understand that parents, seniors, for example, they don't want to give up independence and autonomy.
Right.
The problem, though, is that often, but they also don't want to be a burden. And so I empower conversations with our children, with their parents, to say, we don't want to take away your independence, but we want to know, what do you need us to do? What has been put in place? What have you, where, what are your assets? What's the game plan? Do you have money to care for yourself? Do you have money for a funeral? Nobody wants to talk about these things, but the problem is the decisions don't go away just because they're not, you're not having a conversation.
Right.
And so the most important thing is I empower people to have a conversation. And even if that conversation needs to take place over different times because it's too much or they're not ready, the answer isn't to just not do it.
Right.
And I think that it's important to understand that just because you let somebody in to your life as a senior, for example, to know about what you have or don't have, and you still want to be involved, doesn't mean you're losing independence.
Yeah.
But I look at it as you're helping them provide an assistant to you and to be there when the time is needed.
So that's interesting to me because I believe that's true collaboration as well from in the family sort of unit, right? So if there's this resistance to talk about my death and dying and whatever, and I'm not bringing my children into the process, but you help them actually continue talking until hopefully all of that gets resolved, so everyone can help each other. That is a great gift, really.
Well, I think that with one thing I could tell you is I can say and broach topics that a child may not be able to, or it will be received differently if it's coming from me.
Yes.
And so often when we begin the estate planning process or the long-term care process, I am broaching topics, but it's coming from a neutral party, and it's coming from someone it's coming from an educational standpoint and empowering them to say that here is your way of saying what you want. Many people don't realize, for example, young families, they don't want to prepare a will because they don't know who they're going to name as a guardian of their young children. Right. They actually become like a deer in headlights, and they say, we don't know, so we're not going to deal with it. The problem they don't realize is if you die, both of them, and you didn't name a guardian in a will, you're at the mercy of who steps forward to be the guardians, and that's the exact concern that you are expressing to me, that you don't know who would be. And likely it will be the person that you possibly don't want it to be.
Right.
So the answer sometimes is not to deal with it, it's to be proactive. So for me, for example, my funeral, I have burial plots. I have had them since I was young. To me, it's just comforting to know that I have, it just happens to be that my synagogue opened up a section in a cemetery and the section was near my mother. And that was a proactive move on my part. And truthfully, one less thing that my children have to do. Did I feel that it had an ick factor? Because no, people get worried about having these discussions. I'm not superstitious because I bought funeral plots that I was going to die, and it was 30 years ago, and I'm happy to say there was not an issue. But the point is that I wanted to have a say about my funeral.
Yeah.
And Now, I will tell you that not only when I do someone's wills, do I go over who their funeral agent is, or I tell people to put together what's called a letter of instruction. And you would be interested in this because you play a role in this. The letter of instruction is where my clients can indicate very specific wishes that they have that aren't set forth in the will. For example, and I tell my clients all the time, which you probably don't know, do you have a specific funeral home that you want? Do you want an obituary? What papers do you want your obituary in? If somebody asks about donations, where do you want the donations? And I go over this with the clients. It doesn't go in the will, but it can go in what's called a letter of instruction that stays with the will to give the executor a choice. And that's where you play a role, in a sense that this is a way of speaking in some ways beyond the grave. But my clients love the information of what I'm telling them, and I give them the bullets of what to include if they want to. They never even thought about that they could indicate what funeral home. They never thought about that they can indicate what charities to go to.
Right.
And this is all about proactively educating clients about topics. And this is one of them where Bradley can play a role in explaining to people that they can have a say.
Yeah. I think I have a misconception of this process, and I've been through it a few times, personally and with family members. But I like what you're saying, in that this is an evolutionary process in a way. It's not one and done. They don't come in and meet with you once. To get everyone on the same page, children and parents or whatever it might be, it takes a little while, and you are there that whole time. You work with them.
It's definitely a process, and it starts with again, if you want me to explain, but it starts with an initial consultation and no charge. But what we do is we get, prior to the consultation, we ask for background information, just so that when they get to speak to either myself or my husband, who's my law partner, and in the future, my son, Brian, that I can hit the ground running with guidance and with some suggestions, but legal suggestions. I don't want to be gathering the information at that time because I want to be productive in the consultation. And if they decide to go forward, then you're right, it's a process. We then have another discussion and meeting where we talk about who do they want to name as their healthcare proxy? Who do they want to name as their agent under a financial power of attorney? And then we talk about their wills. We talk about, and it could take 2 and 3 times. Then we review the documents comprehensively. Then they come in and sign the documents. So it is a step. It's a process that's done. We don't rush people. We don't, we want them to feel that they understand what they're signing. I pride myself on breaking it down for them so that they understand it, because they are dealing with this for the first time and it's personal to them. And I make people understand that I want them to understand what they're doing.
Right. So let's just say for the moment that you're working with the parents, elderly parents, and this is an estate planning. How do you encourage them to speak to the children, to have them collaborate on this process, or are you working with just the parents, the clients, and they work out their plan, and then the plan is given to the rest of the family?
So the estate planning that I do, which is the preparation of decision-making documents such as a financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, maybe a real estate power of attorney, and the wills, estate planning, that kind of process. Usually, children can be involved, but usually if the people are vibrant and have capabilities, I often don't, if they're in their 60s and 70s, that process usually doesn't incorporate the children, but if they want them, everybody is welcome. Certainly my kids that are 18, because over 18, everyone needs a financial power of attorney and a healthcare power of attorney. So certainly in the 20s, 30s, 40s, I don't usually work with parents if they want a parent involved. In my long-term care planning, my asset protection planning, it is often a collaborative process where I do have the children involved. Often the children are the ones that set up the initial consultation. We again explain who our clients are, but it is helpful to have everyone listening, reviewing documents, and understanding the plan, because often the children, in the case of setting up a trust, an asset protection trust, are the trustees.
Right.
So in that case, yes, they are involved, and I promote that because everybody should be listening. Nobody is going to be able to repeat what I say. And so I like and welcome people. And even on consultations, Bradley, I want people to be a part of it.
Right. Very good.
Scott, sorry.
That's all right. It sounds like a lot of work, a lot of pieces of a puzzle to put together. What do people need to be prepared for when they meet with you the first time? Documents?
So again, the way we do it is that we have an initial contact that they call in our office, and then we ask them to fill out usually some kind of questionnaire. Again, we don't like to put a huge barrier of documents or preparation of documents ahead of time, but we do need some background information. We don't need account numbers, but I roughly need to know, do you own a home? Do you have, IRA or 401k accounts? Roughly, what are they? I don't need what institution has them. I don't need account numbers. Do they have long-term care insurance? So we ask for background. If they do have documents, we do ask them to send them to us, because in conjunction with the consultation, I will review them. And Scott, I'm going to tell you that I have seen some pretty interesting documents that people have. And I analogize documents that people have like an outfit in your closet. If you have an outfit in your closet for the last 20 years and you haven't tried it on, what is the risk that you run when you try it on?
Yeah, it's not going to fit very well.
And that is how I analogize documents. Most often, if you have documents that you did, financial power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, that you haven't looked at, often it may not fit. What do I mean by not fit? Well, the agent that you named is no longer with us.
Right.
Or the agent that you named or the healthcare proxy you named has dementia themselves. Or they're out of state. Or it was a family member that you were no longer in contact with. And so that is part of the consultation process that we look at.
Right.
If we go forward with long-term care planning, we gather a lot of information. I will ask to see policies. I will ask to see life insurance policies, annuities, but I take people through it. We work with people through the process. I call it a hand-holding process.
Yeah, good. You hold a lot of hands.
I do hold a lot of hands.
Resources. So you're talking about lots of resources. What are the state, federal, financial, legal resources available to people that you have to work with or like to work with, or that help people kind of lower their anxiety and stress about what they have to go through? Well,
look, we have knowledge of some of the government programs, but I will want to, if I can, just a moment digress a bit. Many people call us up and they don't know if they're on a government program, for example, they don't know exactly which one they're on. Somebody will say to me, I get Social Security. And I'll say, what kind of Social Security? Do you get Supplemental Security Income, SSI, which is a need-based program? Or are you getting SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance? The reason why it's important to ask them is it makes a difference on what kind of planning and what kind of consultation, information I'm going to be able to provide.
Right.
And so the answer is, and I'm not going to tell you I have knowledge of all government programs. I don't. There are many resources out there for people which I can offer. there are legal aid societies, there are law schools even that offer programs, but I will tell you that most of the time when I'm dealing with clients, they are looking for, hiring a lawyer for that kind of private advice. But for my special needs clients, I have a wonderful entity, for example, Plan New Jersey, that offers services where they can serve as a guardian if you don't have one,
right.
a trustee of a special needs trust if they don't have one. So we do like to keep up. ARC of New Jersey
right.
is a resource that's out there. We like to give people funeral home recommendations. We give people accountant recommendations. People ask us about financial advisors. Again, we usually give different names. We like to be a resource. My favorite thing to do is to provide resources.
Cool.
And I think that we all work collaboratively that way in our industry, you and everyone. So that's important to me and to our practice because, and I do have a philosophy that Donna knows, because is that we don't worry whether or not somebody that I've given a referral to refers back because they're providing a resource and help to my clients.
Right.
I don't keep track of that. If they do, they do, but it's more important that I can provide them with information that and somebody else that can help them.
Yeah. My funeral group is new to this networking idea of working with interprofessionals like yourself, healthcare professionals. Right. And I must say it's very enjoyable to be a part of this network. And Austin, who helps me, is always getting these great referrals like your law firm. But it's the collaborative part. It's that thing you're talking about, to be able with some high degree of trust to be able to say, we know Laurie, so we recommend you go talk to her. We don't know if they're going to use you or not, but that networking and building of trust amongst all of ourselves is a wonderful thing.
I think that when you're a professional, that we owe it to ourselves to work and find people that we trust to provide support to our own clients or patients or, anything in that area. Yeah. And I believe that we're not in a bubble any longer, that there are so many resources available. And when you have a synergy in an area of law, like we all do, whether it's the elder law community or it's estate planning, it helps to people welcome that you're providing them with information. Yeah. I'm sure you're aware that there are Facebook groups all over. Every town has them. Yeah. Livingston, where I raised my family, and Morristown, and Summit. And by the way, those groups are used constantly as a resource, a place where people go for resources. Yep. And so this is just another area where all of us can collaboratively provide resources to our clients. Right. And I refer other lawyers to people, real estate lawyers or bankruptcy lawyers, whether or not, and I do business success, in my wills, if you own a business, you own a business. What happens when you pass away? Where is the Bradley Funeral Home going to go? Right. People don't think about that. Well, there are lawyers that handle business succession planning.
I know them well.
Okay, so the idea is that this is all, and this is where I like to be a resource, no different than the other day. Yeah. I need a real estate attorney in Ocean County, and I called a real estate attorney that I know, and she had somebody for me to give a client.
Right. And you're going to call that person because your friend who referred that real estate attorney to you, you're going to trust. There's a higher level of trust.
Well, you certainly you can always Google and look up I was going to say Yellow Pages, but literally no one uses Yellow Pages anymore. I just dated myself, everyone. But the idea is that when you get a referral, you have a little bit more of a vetting process, you would think. And I'm very clear. For example, I may say to somebody, I have a name of a resource, and I will be honest with them. I've never directly worked with them, but I've had people that I know have worked with them.
Yeah.
Or I'm very comfortable saying, I have seen this financial advisor in action with clients. I think they do a good job, but I'm very candid and open about the recommendation, but it's still better than just taking someone like on a list.
Yeah, I actually think it's not a primary, but a secondary part of our professionalism is to be doing that
Absolutely.
kind of research. So, you have these folks in our back pockets to
Correct.
refer. Yeah.
I think that I always say to somebody, you're going to stand out in your business more than others if you are a resource for many other areas for the person that you provide to them. When they walk out, they say, wow, I never even had food for thought about this. I didn't know about a letter of instruction. I didn't even know about a funeral agent. Now I can go back to my estate planning, or you gave somebody the name of somebody that could help them with this. It just makes you that much more helpful, credible, proactive for your clients.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Welcome.